There are a lot of ways to play Raft. Hi friends, and welcome back to Raft. As is bound to happen with a game that's been downloaded over 12 million times, there are probably about 12 million ways to play the game. All of those are valid in their own right, and as someone who has played the game probably a bit too much, I've worn a lot of different hats trying to figure out what type of Raft player I am. Obviously, I am the YouTuber you all know and love, but there are 10 major types of Raft player that you might be. If you think one of these describes you, or if you have more categories to suggest, let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, it would be much appreciated. But without further ado, here are 10 types of Raft players. The Noob is just beginning their Raft journey, and they're a little confused on how this whole ocean floating survival works. Do they know that there are things to find underwater? Debatable. Do they know that they can stop shark attacks with foundation armor? Probably not. Do they have the slightest inkling that this game has a story even? I doubt it. Instead, do they pile all of their precious belongings in the center of their massive cheap wooden foundation platform and hope for the best? Absolutely. Life is one grand adventure, and the Noob has chosen to spend theirs by learning everything the hard way. In some ways, this is the perfect Raft experience, just bumbling through and trying your best. Your storage systems are a mess, Jeremiah is your biggest enemy, and you have absolutely no clue what's coming next. It's a video game, and it's meant to be fun. It can only be your first playthrough one time, so you may as well enjoy it and learn the ropes along the way. All of the knowledge for optimizing and building will come in due time. You're just not there yet, and that's okay. I get it. Learning how to rotate sails can be confusing, but with a little time and a few extra shark attacks, I have every confidence that you'll become one of the greatest rafters of all time. In the rare case of the gamer who has friends, Raft is truly better as a multiplayer experience, which the multiplayer enjoyer understands wholeheartedly. This game did win the Steam Award for Better with Friends for a reason, after all. Just think of all of the shenanigans to be had: hiding things from your buddy, sacrificing them to the Eldritch Gods, having someone to leave behind so that they get eaten by bears instead of you. Classic. That's what friends are for. There are so many fun interactions that come from having multiple idiots stranded on an endless ocean together, and it's one of the best ways to play. That way you either have someone to account for all of your dumb mistakes, or someone you can prevent from making all of the dumb mistakes. Or, hear me out, you can just troll them constantly by breaking the floor out from under them. I wouldn't know, I've certainly never done that. Point is, the multiplayer enjoyer understands that with company, the joy is doubled and the work is halved. You get to share all of this wonderful experience with some of your best buds, and you get someone to revive you when you fall over. A win-win, truly. Like any great survival crafting game, constructing a base of your own is truly one of the best parts of your marine journey, and in Raft, building up a functional raft is kind of the name of the game. Whilst almost anyone, Noob included, can make a raft that goes from A to B, it takes a special kind of someone to spruce it up a bit and make something a bit more interesting. Although Raft may have a relatively limited selection of building materials and block types, there is no limit on player imagination, so almost anything is possible. And for the aesthetic builder who's willing to spend an ungodly amount of time screwing around with detail planks, the limits are far beyond the stars. Goodness knows that I don't have the patience for that, but even then, there are still a great number of aesthetic builds out there utilizing everyday techniques. I'm partial to building ships due to the marine theme of the game, but some people have built almost anything imaginable, from full-on tanks to the Starship Enterprise. The joys of aesthetic building are one of the facets that make Raft worth replaying, and the aesthetic builder is going to use that to its fullest capacity. The lore hunter knows everything about Raft's story, all of the ins and outs of character interactions, all of the backstories for the unlockable characters, and heck, they may even have memorized all of the dialogue for the Utopia NPCs. The lore hunter is a glutton for all aspects of world building, both those inherent to the game and all of the little details that are hidden throughout the 8 story locations. The lore hunter has found every note in every location, paid attention to all of the bits of graffiti, and found every scout signal along the way. If you're a lore hunter, you probably tend to play most games for the story. While difficulty and combat may not be your strong suit, you'd best believe you're soaking up every environmental detail along the way. Whether or not your favorite location is Bobby's Maze or Dedo's Rocket, you found something unique and charming in every location that you go to. It's a pretty beautiful thing to get all of the information from a game built on context, so kudos for paying attention. If you wanted to be the lore hunter but you really didn't understand Raft's story, the good news is I think I have the perfect video for you. Raft has a number of difficulties meant to tailor your playthrough into something you specifically enjoy, and the hardcore rafter has their heart set on the most difficult one. Aptly, it's named hard mode, and this makes perfect sense given that pretty much every single aspect of the game is substantially harder. It may not be all that bad if you also happen to be a multiplayer enjoyer, as there's someone to account for your mistakes and keep you fed, but if you're flying solo, you'd best hope that no screechers come your way. At this point, I'd expect that you have more names for the 5 sharks in your world than Bruce, Jeremiah, Barbara, and Grace, considering that you cycle through them like there's no tomorrow. You've built an empire upon taking as few risks as possible, or you've just gotten brazen enough with a heavy-handed use of some magical stew that you fear nothing. Or in the case of a hardcore rafter who simply knows what they're doing well enough to not be afraid regardless, they're about ready to ascend into the biblically accurate forward scout that the raft world promises. But if the vanilla mode simply isn't challenging enough for the hardest core of rafters, don't worry, you may evolve into your next form as a different type of raft player. The modding community surrounding Raft has created some truly wonderful things, and there's pretty much something for everyone if you're willing to do a little digging. Or you could just ask the modding enthusiast, because they probably have it all figured out already. No matter what part of the game you want to change in some way, shape, or form, chances are the mod enthusiast knows what'll scratch that itch. The Raft can be unrecognizable when compared to the vanilla players, and it's only going to get even better with some of the mods that are currently in development. Maybe they've used Arashi's fishing expansion to automate their food supply, or the electricity mod to remove the need for placing batteries every 30 seconds. Maybe they just wanted to build something beyond the limits of the normal game mechanics, so they work with glass walls and diagonal pillars. Maybe they just turned Jeremiah into a dragon because honestly, why not? The mod enthusiast has sorted through the Raft modding Discord and website ad nauseum, looking for some new form of addiction to satisfy their endless needs. It's understandable because there's a lot of great additional content out there, but make sure you don't miss out on what's already hidden in the game. If you're paying attention, there are a number of fun and wacky little interactions you can experience in the Raft world, and the glitch abuser is the Victor Humphreys of the sunken apocalypse. Don't get me wrong, a decent number of these glitches are super fun to experiment with, but the glitch abuser takes it to a whole new level. Whether you've built your whole raft underwater or upside down using everyone's favorite detail planks or carpets, there are still plenty of things the glitch abuser takes into account that the standard player would not. For instance, the small fact that collision does not exist on grass plots, so you could stack 40 smelters in a single square. Of course, the whole host of glitches caused by carpets are some of the best in the game, like letting you ignore foundation-based placement requirements, making objects float, and clipping through solid barriers. The glitch abuser knows all of these interactions by heart and will use them to their advantage. Whether or not it's in combination with the aesthetic builder or just a crazed lunatic who's obsessed with automation, well, that comes down to the individual. But hey, at least they technically have an infinite number of every item, which the next drafter can only aspire to. If you take the Lore Hunter and the Hardcore Rafter and you smack them together really hard, you'll get the rare and elusive Raft Completionist. Not only has the Completionist beat this game no less than 5 times, but they've collected every imaginable item and experience along the way. Their macabre collection of every unique animal head adorns their walls, and they can cycle through any cassette type you may want. More impressively, they've managed to get all 104 of Raft's achievements, including the ones that require selling a bit of your soul and a whole lot of free time to get. I'm looking at you, 5,000 items hooked. There's very little about the rafting world that the Completionist doesn't know, and you'd best believe they've gone out of their way to make each playthrough worthwhile. Sometimes they even set their fun goals just to keep things interesting, but they can definitely get you anything that you ask for. The Completionist is also the perfect guide for the noobs, so that with a little hand-holding, they won't find themselves at the bottom of Davy Jones's locker. I will always be impressed by the people who can collect everything in a single playthrough, because man does that require some pure dedication. There are a lot of great YouTube videos on Raft, and YouTube has certainly helped keep this game alive through some of the update droughts. Some of those videos have garnered millions of views, leading to millions of people attempting certain styles of playthroughs or breaking the game in ways they never would have thought of on their own. Whether that's abusing the detail plank to build underwater or soaring through skyscrapers on a bathtub, watching and recreating some of your favorite moments is a time-honored tradition. Maybe you're just a really big fan of Mark Wade and Bob's playthrough and you wanted some of that captaining chaos for yourself. Or maybe you just watched a build tutorial that you wanted to build in your own world. It's pretty plausible that people like Jacksepticeye playing Raft in 2016 made this game what it is. It's undeniable that YouTube has had a substantial impact on our favorite floating simulator. Whatever the case, if it's some kind of video that got you into this game, I respect it and I'm glad you gave it a shot. As a several-time world record holder, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't think that Raft speedrunners are some of the best rafters out there. Am I a bit biased? Perhaps. But I do genuinely think that learning to speedrun a game teaches you a lot of fun things that you never would have discovered otherwise. I never would have known about third-person glitches or certain parkour skips without speedrunning this game, and it's undeniably a unique way to experience this endless ocean. Even though I've run this game countless times, I still get to learn new things this way. Like the way you can clip through the floor into Shogo's room on Temperance by save loading through the backside of a door. Aside from all of the weird mechanical knowledge of a speedrunner, they have some of the best techniques for survival, from optimal food and water consumption to pretending to be a dolphin so they can pretend to run on water at the same time, regardless of how nauseating this technique can be. Of course, this is also the origin of the fabled paddle gang, who understands that the paddle is one of the most powerful items in the game, and that cannot be underestimated. But regardless, the speedrunner lives by one slogan: gotta go fast. And those are 10 types of raft player you can find floating on the endless ocean. If I missed any categories, be sure to let me know in the comments below, and also tell me what kind of rafter you are. Anyways, I think that's everything for me for now. I hope you enjoyed. Please consider leaving a like if you did, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. It really helps me out. I hope to see you all again soon, but until then, have a great day.